Welcome to a special Nerd Alert review of Edge of Tomorrow, starring Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt as humans fighting a losing war against an invading alien force. Let's take a look at a clip.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to save you. We're getting slaughtered. You need to get us off this beach. We have to go. This dropship is about to explode. We have to go now. Wait. Come on! Come on! Come on! The ship is going to explode! What are you doing?
Find me when you wake up.
What?
Come find me when you wake up.
On your feet, maggots!
Thanks to the good people at Nerdist, we got to see the film early. We had been talking about it before in our summer movie sci-fi preview, and let me say, it did not disappoint.
Yeah, this was absolutely one of the movies that I was most looking forward to in the sci-fi lineup this summer, and it definitely met my expectations. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed pretty much all the aspects of it.
I love Tom Cruise movies. Like, we know that he's a crazy person.
I forgot that he was a crazy person.
Yeah, but when you're watching this movie, you forget all that stuff about Tom Cruise and you remember what a stellar actor he is and how he captivates you for an entire movie.
Emily Blunt she's fantastic in this role, but she's definitely the supporting character to Tom Cruise's lead. This is, of course, based on All You Need Is Kill, the novel that spurned a manga. It used to be called All You Need Is Kill, but that was killed after it was found to be grammatically incorrect. This movie is surprisingly humorous even. I was expecting it to be hard drama all the time, very high concept, and it was that, but there are also some very, lots of levity.
I mean, the basic premise is kind of like, Groundhog Day meets, I don't know, Gears of War.
Sure.
Something like that. He keeps reliving the battle over and over again, and every time he gets killed, he wakes up right before the battle.
And he has all his knowledge. He remembers everything, but no one else remembers anything. So he has to keep developing different strategies to get through his day and figure out how he's going to become a better soldier and how he's going to win the war. And Emily Blunt, as you saw, discovers that he has this ability that she used to have, and she's going to help him after she gets convinced every single day.
Well, after the screening, we did get a chance to actually hear Tom Cruise himself speak a little bit about the movie, and one of the things that he was pointing out was kind of the comedic aspect of, like, if it's this guy who's just stuck in this loop of getting killed over and over and over again, you have to make it a little bit funny.
Otherwise,
and become really creative with the different ways that you killed him, and so he doesn't really get killed the same way twice. It's always something new and surprising.
Well, I think this movie really highlights, one, war is horrible and scary, and two, death is really easy, like really easy. Like, you could die at any second.
Yeah, you see movies about these like super soldiers and like we're the last chance for human race to survival, and against impossible odds, they make it past the entire army. It's like, no, Tom Cruise gets killed by 100 different aliens on his pursuit of saving the day.
Right, and you literally have to have fought this same battle like 200 times in order to actually survive it. Like, yeah.
Well,
he's got the comedy chops to pull it off, which you don't see from him a whole lot. Yeah, but he was very funny in this, and the movie itself had great comedic pacing and timing.
So let's look at a scene that was in the EPK and highlights that comedic aspect.
Stop. Wait. Stop. Wait a second. Wait a second. 'Cause I've been thinking. I mean, this thing's in my blood. So maybe there's some way I can transfer it to you.
I've tried everything. It doesn't work.
I mean, have you, tried all the options?
Oh, you mean sex? Yeah, tried it.
How many times?
All right.
How about Emily Blunt's arms in that scene?
Gosh.
Holy cow. And most of the movie, she is cut.
If you didn't love Emily Blunt before, you will love her after this movie because she's so great in this role. She's very strong. She's never a pushover, but you do understand the little bits of vulnerabilities peeking through at certain points. It's very subtle, but I really love the way that she played the role and the way it was written.
And her character has this huge sword. You can see it in the posters and the trailers and all of that. She's got this huge, like, anime proportion sword.
Yeah, Buster sword.
Which normally I'd be like, "Ah, come on. But because she's wearing this power armor, it actually makes sense that that would be like a weapon that you could practically wield in that situation.
The one thing that you don't see in the trailer, at least for any significant amount of time, is the aliens, the invading force.
Yeah, the mimics.
The mimics, which I think is great because when they were first on screen, I was like, holy shit, those are terrifying. It's weird and rare to see like a fresh take on an alien invading race, one that like isn't like humanoid and bipedal and what have you, and doesn't use like guns and rockets and stuff.
I was terrified for they showed his entire first day all the way through.
Yeah.
Later on, they don't show every day in its entirety. The movie would take forever.
Obviously.
But the first day, they showed pretty much straight through exactly how it was going to happen. And it was terrifying. The whole time it was just like a nightmare, a barrage of different things being assaulted at you, and it was so much, which really hit home the point that, yeah, war is terrible. It's scary. You will die.
Butt clenching intensity for that whole first battle.
Yeah.
Groin-grabbingly intense.
Well, you touched on something that I thought was one of the things that this movie did best, which was that it had a really solid narrative structure to it. And, you know, it would be really easy to fall into the trap of like, oh, well, let's show the same thing over and over again. But the way that they did it was, it didn't feel like super repetitive, even though that was kind of the whole point of the movie. They kept us guessing, and there were points where we, as the audience, were experiencing it for the very first time, but then we realized that he's been doing that for much, much longer.
They have a lot of creative visual ways to show you how many times he's done it without having seen him done it or even having him say how many times he's done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is very clever. Once he gets the hang of the structure, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
To me, this was a really existentialist movie. It reminded me a lot of this movie that was written by Jean-Paul Sartre. Sorry.
Well done.
It's called Les Jeux sont faits. It's I forgot the English translation to that, but it's about a couple who, they don't know each other, they die, they meet each other in the afterlife. They have to be able to fall in love, and if they do, they get to come back to life, and they keep trying and trying, and it doesn't work out in this movie. But at the end, they meet another young couple in their place, and they say like the two most iconic lines of the film. One of them says, they're like, oh, should we, you know, after you failed, should we even do this? And one of them says, try, and the other one says, try anyway, which means, you know, you're probably going to fail, but you should keep trying. Or, you know what, maybe you won't fail this time. Maybe this one time you won't fail. And I really liked that. Of course, it's way more action-oriented and less romance-oriented, and I liked that more too.
Yeah, I think the director, Doug Liman, has a really unique ability to mix like really intense, giant action with, you know, comedy and to have just really great narrative structure. You see that in like Mr. and Mrs. Smith and The Bourne Identity.
You know, you can see a trailer and think, wow, that is incredible. But then the movie comes out and it's completely underwhelming and the trailer gave everything away. And I feel like that's not the case this time. This movie really lived up and beyond my expectations.
You can compare it to a lot of other movies, like obviously Groundhog Day, but also like Run Lola Run or Source Code or things like that. But I think it mashed up enough different like genre tropes, and it just had its own original spin on it that it felt very fresh to me. So.
Not to mention stylistically, it's badass.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It looks cool.
I hope I see really good cosplays based on Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt's characters.
I think Chris Hardwick put it pretty well when he said, like, this wasn't a movie about a video game, but you'll never find a movie that's more video game-like, that captures the essence of a video game better.
I'm really impressed by it the more and more I think about it.
I think not a single scene in this movie was squandered or out of place. All the options that I wanted to see, because if you have unlimited options and unlimited do-overs, you try a lot of different things. We saw that in Groundhog Day. I was sad that they didn't make any sort of Groundhog's Day joke, but maybe that would have been a little too on the nose, breaking the fourth wall. But yeah, every scene that I saw was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm glad he did that, and they exercised that possibility because that would have been brought up in the YouTube comments of, you know.
There was one moment where I wanted him to keep pushing forward, and he spent too much time on something, and it made me crazy. But maybe it's just me. I can't say what it was. It's driving me nuts.
I'm very excited, though, to see this movie again, because I feel like Groundhog Day, I watch Groundhog Day every single year on Groundhog Day. Every single time I watch it, I just enjoy it more and more. There's just so much material to pick up on and see in a new way every time you watch it. And I feel like this movie's going to be the same way. So I'm looking forward to going to see it again.
You're right. I think it does have a lot of replay value, and I think I'll gain more by looking at things with the understanding.
Which is weird, because it's such a repetitive movie.
One thing I will say, because we've been gushing over this a while, we saw it in 3D IMAX. I wasn't so sure that this was a need to see in 3D movie. There were maybe 1 or 2 instances where I was like, oh, that looks super cool in 3D, but most of the film was...
Maybe I'm easily startled.
Maybe.
But I was just like,
you were
no,
jumping out of your seat
no.
the whole time. But no,
if you're
I
wondering
do agree
whether
with
to
you.
spend $12 or $22 on this, I would lean more towards 12 in future viewing.
I think for my second viewing, I'm very interested in seeing it in standard 2D, because I think it'll play just as well.
Yeah,
All
agreed.
right, so
agreed.
we agree that 3D isn't necessary, though it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it was
The big
visually
scale of the
interesting.
IMAX and the sound of the IMAX was good, but I could have done without the 3D.
Okay, so maybe keep that extra $8.
Overall, do we want to give like a ranking or a thumbs up or anything like that? I think we're all pretty much in agreement here.
I give it a thumbs up over and over and over and over again.
Yes, I will second that. Thumbs up from me as well.
All right, and I'm going to give it a 9.1 just to fuck up the scale. Edge of Tomorrow comes out on Friday. We definitely recommend it. Go watch the movie and then let us know what you think.